And welcome everyone to a special little, I don't know what to call it, like a podcast edition, because it's not. We know we usually do shows, so this is going to be something different for a change. But yeah, as always, I'm Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 692 tweets and 692 pics, and of course, I'm joined by Sean.
What's up? You can join me on Marvin_the_12 on Instagram.
And joining us today is Brett Chan. I can guarantee if you haven't heard of him, you will absolutely have seen his work. He's been in this industry for a while. Not to make him sound old or anything, but you would absolutely have seen something. I was genuinely surprised looking at like the IMDb credit page of just how much stuff I've seen of your work.
Yeah.
And
Well, thanks.
of course, you know, it's
Hey, what's up, people?
yeah. if you've got anything to plug, you can plug right off the bat. We can wait.
Nah, my Instagram is DChanWorld, and that's about it.
All right, cool.
My stunt team is hitsinternational.com.
Yeah. All right, just to get straight into it, the whole stunt world and stunt choreography and that side of the industry I'm so far removed from that. Like, I've always appreciated that side of things, but I've never actually, not like interest is the wrong word. It's something I've always been like ignorant about, like not in like in this sort of sense. But what make like I've always wanted to know, like, what's driven someone to like get involved in that? Like, what's pushed you to that side of the industry?
Well, actually, I didn't really. I mean, at the time, I had no idea that I actually could get into it. I used to watch. There was a split show once a week, and it was Hercules with Kevin Sorbo and also Vanishing Sun, right, with Russell Wong. And every other week, it would play one or the other, and I used to love both those shows. And then I moved to Vancouver, and I was doing my human kinetics, kinesiology, and doing my pre-meds and getting into school. And I was working at a nightclub, and I met some guys that were all Ninja Turtles, and they said, "You want to audition?" So I did, and I got a part on there as one of the bad guys, you know, any stunt guy running around getting beaten up, and because of my martial arts. And next thing you know, I'm sitting on set, and Kevin Sorbo's beating me up on Andromeda.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
To get to the back catalogue you have of like credits and shows you worked on, a lot of it is like in this sphere for this channel, you know, Comic Book Cast. We are very much in a specific area on the internet. Like, were comics an influence? Because you've done a lot of like comic adaptations in film and TV shows. Like, going back to like Fantastic Four and X-Men 2, and even like, as you just said, it was the Next Mutation, right? Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it was a TV series. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that like an influence or anything like that side of like fandom? Or?
No, not at all. I mean, because I was always a fan of comics, anyways. Growing up, I always had a big collection, and always, you know, X-Men, Daredevil. I mean, Wolverine. I mean, it was the works. But as a stunt performer, you kind of get hired based off of just your skills or ND skills, which are, you know, what every stunt performer should have, hitting the ground and taking hits and making it look realistic. And you know, the shows come to town, and you get called for them. So I just happen to be fortunate enough to work on all these shows.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Nice. But right, I said to you before we start recording this, I've got some questions from our Facebook community, because I feel like out of everyone, it's either like the YouTube members who like pay to get our stuff, or it's. So I thought I'd give the Facebook guys a chance. So Ryan, his question is, from the shows that you have done, like i.e. Arrow, Iron Fist, etc., what was the most difficult ones from each show, and why was it difficult to pull off?
As a performer, as a coordinator, choreographer.
He doesn't say, but either or, I imagine.
The difficulty is with certain shows, especially with advancing TV shows, because the audience nowadays, even from young kids who are like 9 and 10 years old, audience from all the way down there and up are so much more savvy with film. They know so much more, and the martial arts is more prevalent too. So when you're doing things, they know it. This is realistic. That's not realistic. This is good. Or that's not good. Or that looks real. It doesn't look real. So they all know it. But TV, although that the content has got bigger, what they wanted, what they expect to see, but the budget on TV isn't exactly the same as like on features.
No.
So the hardest thing is dealing with time and safety to make it look bigger and better with the budget we have and the time that we have to do it. You know, you get a fight scene that would take like, you know, generally about a week or two to shoot, but you know, on TV we get one day.
Yeah.
So you have to basically make that happen. And because everyone's rushing or everyone's trying to do, you know, and the productions go, 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 go. I mean, people can get hurt. So the biggest challenge is that. And I mean, something the audience doesn't see, but a lot of stunt performers get hurt on a lot of shows because we're doing these things in a rush to make it look bigger and look better. And, you know, that generally tends to happen in shows like Arrow. You know, the shows like any kind of like TV shows out there that, you know, that's going to be high action.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hope that answers the
Producers are always wanting bigger, and they want it
Yeah.
faster, not safer.
Well, producers don't want to see anybody get hurt, but they don't see that line. They don't see where we go. We can tell them at some point. You know, they don't want to see anyone get hurt because they're some of them, the number guys and the creative guys. I mean, the creatives are all in the creative world, and you tell them this is dangerous. They'll be like, "Oh, okay. Well, then what can we do?" The numbers guys are like, "Okay, I don't want anyone to get hurt, but make this happen." You know,
Yeah.
kind of thing, because it's all about the numbers. You have this amount, and that's all I can give you, but I need this to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know, we want to top you the show, but you have to give me a little. And as performers or stunt coordinators, we're always trying to fight them on that. Say, no, if you want this safely, I need this. If you can't give me this, then this is what you'll get. So as a coordinator, I always give them that option of, okay, I can give you this, but if you can't give me that, then I can only give you this and this then.
Yeah, it's like negotiation.
Yeah, you have to.
What's the best production that you've been on that you never really had a huge issue with, like that type of stuff?
That actually ties in very nicely, just to jump in there with Stephen's question, so we can tie it all into one. He essentially asked the same question, like, what was your like favorite project and what was the weirdest?
My favorite project was Warrior. Warrior on HBO. Written by the writings from Bruce Lee, written by Jonathan Tropper, Brad Kane, Josh Stoddard, Evan Taylor, you know, all these guys. Shannon Lee was part of all this whole thing, and Justin Lin. And Richard Sharkey is the producer, and I mean, he understands what it takes to do certain things. And because we're shooting in South Africa, I mean, we obviously have a little leniency with budget because it's cheaper to shoot things there. So, but they do give me the amount of prep that I need when I come on board, and I say, okay, I need this much prep. Okay, great. And they set up a great gym space for us, and I have the place where my team consists of people that train them, weight train them to keep them in strength, and I also have people that also heal them for muscle aches and pains and all sorts of things. And they're fantastic when they really listen, and they'll actually, you know, let me kind of dictate certain things that happens in the storyline of the script because of the action and what has to happen. Because I think in terms of character, I don't think in terms of just action.
No, you can't just have action for the sake of it, right? You need to have it. It's a character in its own right, and it plays a bigger part in the plot.
Everything's got to be driven by the character.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it just becomes a fight. And you know, a fight's a fight to fight. It doesn't matter how cool the fight is, but if it's like a 4-minute fight and like it's just a fight, I mean, it gets kind of boring. You need character-driven moments with the character all the time.
Yeah.
So, and
that's what UFC's for. So
yeah. Well, there you go.
You know,
but that's been the best. One of the weirdest productions. Well, let me see. I mean, was it North America or Europe or somewhere like in like I shot a movie in Ukraine. That was definitely interesting. Or you know, or Wednesday when I shot Wednesday. That was interesting because of the, you know, working with Tim Burton was always great. I mean, that guy he's quirky, but he's so creatively quirky. It's just like watching him kind of go and how the action all went. I mean, it wasn't huge action on that show, but the things that we had to do to get through it was always kind of cool because we're working in the mindset of Tim Burton.
Yeah. He's a human cartoon.
Creative muscle sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. He totally thinks outside the box for things. And if you look at his characters that he picks for everything, everyone is just they're not just so normal. They're just there's something quirky about them, and it just gives a lot of character building when you're watching the shows.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, like you saw that in the Batman, like when he casted Michael Keaton Batman. You know, just that's the most famous example is like. But
well, I'm glad he's back in the next one.
Yeah.
That's the only good. That's the only shining light in that movie. So, but yes, not the only shining.
All right, this one might be a bit of a cheeky question.
Here we go.
But it depends. That's for me. Like, obviously, it might not be for you. What's the most irritating thing someone can do when you're on set or working with anything? Like for you personally, like what's the most?
For me, but depending who you're talking about, with someone is it?
No one specifically. Just in general. Like if you want to be specific, you can be, or just like not name names. But it was not in.
No, I mean, do you mean like an actor or a producer or one of my team or a crew or? You're probably talking about actors.
I mean, it can be actors. Whichever. I was thinking more broadly, but actors, sure, go. No. Or if you got one for each, or anything interesting, go ahead.
Number one, I mean, you always have to give actors room because some of them are really heavy into their characters. Some of them are casual about things and they can just kind of switch on and off, but some you can't, especially when it's heavy duty, emotions involved or certain things happening. You have to be a certain way with them. And it may be taken lightly, but you can't because they're actually really trying to get in character.
Yeah.
But annoying-wise is things being changed on the spot because they feel like they know better.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Yeah.
I once had an actor tell me how someone should get hit by a car because that's the way they think it should be. And, they've never, ever done it, never seen it, never learned it, nothing, but they're telling me how it should be done. And it doesn't really matter how much power you have as a person on set.
Yeah.
If you want this to be real, then you have to trust your team to tell you how it's going to look like. We can modify, can change it. And believe me, like I know my pecking order in the world of there. Like, okay, this is what you want to do. Understand, and I will tell you, understand, this is not real. Like I was on a movie, I won't mention it, because we'll all know who it is. But it was they wanted these, driving through streets in Hong Kong and going through these, bamboo scaffolding, all that jazz. And wanted just to cut one bamboo scaffolding and let it all collapse. I said, have you been to Hong Kong? I said, yeah. No. Okay. Do you know that when you go to Hong Kong and they're doing scaffoldings, they go up to like 50, 60 floors high.
Yeah.
5 feet. And the reasoning why is because when a tornado comes in, let's say like typhoon or whatever it is, because it happens a lot in like Hong Kong, that if it takes apart one part of the scaffolding, the rest of it stays integral because it's so flexible.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that with regular scaffolding because you take one part, everything is kind of compromised.
Yeah.
So I explained that to them, and they were like, "No, just do it anyways." I'm like, "Okay, well, just it's not real." And the thing is that if you ask me to something real, I'll tell you exactly what it is. I'm not questioning whether or not we should do it. I'm just telling you, this is what you want to see. This is what's not real. It's not. So, and that kind of happened, or because I also worked on Push, and we have bamboo scaffolding everywhere, and we deaded everything. We cut all the bottoms, we put debt everywhere, and we blew it. It didn't collapse because it's so strong. It's so
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to. I think sometimes the creative team needs to kind of trust that. I mean, you guys are the experts on this, so like take your. That's what they're paying you to do, right? Is give you your expert, opinions, and sometimes the creative people just don't want to get out of their own way. They just want something, and that could be really. I'm sure that could be really miserable. Or
but the thing is that like I'm not opposed to making what you want to see happen.
Yeah.
I just like if we've discussed this and we've done this, and I've given you all the information, what's real, what's not, what happened with Ken, on our budget, on our time. Okay, this happened. You can't turn around on the day and say, no, it's changing this on the spot because you feel this is like it. Yeah, okay, but now we're not gonna make our day, not gonna time. I can't shoot this. Everything changes. So understand that. And then they turn around and says, well, this didn't happen because so and so messed up. I'm like, no, nobody messed up here. You changed everything on the day.
I mean that's where it starts, right? You know, you change something. It's not like a domino set where you can just keep putting things up. You know, like when like shooting a movie or TV show is like, it's like 1 hour is integral to the whole schedule. Like you could be 1 hour late in the shoot, and that could be taken away from something like what you guys do. You know, like if you take an hour out of your prep time and stuff like that, that's not safe. You know, in general, you know, and you can't rush stuff like this. You know, like you have to allocate the time for you guys to do your job correctly.
Well, 100%. Like, I mean, look what happened on like the last Resident Evil movie when that girl Olivia Jackson, they changed the stunt speed and timing of the car and the motorcycle, and on the day they changed it from everything they rehearsed, not taking into account factors that can go wrong, which they said that the arm of the Russian arm of the camera thing didn't malfunctioned or whatever it is at that time. Well, now poor Olivia gets smacked by this camera crane arm while she's like 50 feet up in the air, and now she's got amputated left arm. Her spine is all bent out of place. Her career's over. I mean, it's just like these are things that you just can't change because stuff like this happens.
And like when stuff like that happens, it's not like a normal job. You don't get a retirement. You know, nothing kicks in after that. You know, it's just like, you know, it's one of those things.
It's like you get lost in the whole movies aren't real, so nothing's ever going to happen. And nothing bad can go wrong. This thing's not real. Forgetting that making it's a very real thing.
Yeah,
especially with how integral stunts are to virtually every movie you show. There's always some form of stunt that needs that help.
And yet they won't give us an Oscar. How about that?
That blows my mind that it's this far, like this late in the game with the Oscars, and there's no stunt award.
Yeah,
I mean,
it blows my mind.
They give mocap a category, but
we can have a fan vote that everyone was screaming was going to be rigged, and lo and behold, it was at the end of it. But we can't get stunts. That's what's going on with the Academy.
I mean, no offense to the other departments, it's great they all have this, but I mean, like the person that makes the crinkle noise of a can gets they have an Oscar award, but we're like,
I think you guys are an integral part of the film. You know, you make it look good and real. I think I've always said that every part of a movie, a crew that does a movie or a TV show should have a slot in the Oscars.
100%.
Getting rewards, you know, because it's like without you guys, that movie does not look good. you know, like CGI is good, but it's not gonna like fix every problem or do everything you need to do and make it look good.
No,
especially when you've got people like Tom Cruise out here, right? You know, always being like lifted up for doing his own stunts, and you know, this movie saved cinema and what Tom Cruise he does, you know, stunts, whatever. Yet no recognition for that part of it, like. It doesn't make sense to me.
Bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, it is. What can you do?
You know, I think one day, it will get recognized, but it's like it should have happened years ago. You know, like
it
should have been.
If you're celebrating movies and all that sort of stuff, then you can't ignore quite a critical part of making movies.
You can't ignore one of the most integral parts of a film or TV is like the stunts. You know, like the people that put their lives at risk to make you happy and, you know, joy and make the performer look much better than he actually is. You know, like it's just it's so bizarre to me. It's always been bizarre.
You know, imagine a world where the Oscars ignored writers.
Yeah.
Anything of that would be crazy. But my next one from me is: do you have like a ritual, like a routine before you like go do a stunt or go work on a set at any given point? Like, With like a psych yourself up sort of thing, or like a lucky charm?
I carry with me a coop of chickens, and I cut them up before I go. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean,
I was perfectly fine with that answer.
Wouldn't be the most bizarre thing I've heard either. So.
I do a little dance, I smear myself in chicken blood. No. Cut that, dude, please cut that out. Yeah, no, I mean, usually you get on set and you just basically, like, I'm not a screamer on set. I'm not a person to yell. Even if you're messing up, that's not my thing. Because if anything, that all it does is it makes the performer freeze.
Yeah.
So they're not as good. So, no, even as a director, you have to give them the full ability to own what they're doing, so that they feel that they're part of the integral, not just a performer. They're actually owning this.
Yeah.
When I'm directing, I always talk to the actors, and I let them give them free rein how they want to take it. As long as they get to the point where I need them to get to, that's great. With stunt performers, the same thing. I tell them exactly what I need, what we rehearsed exactly, so they can feel the emotion of doing it and not just running through the motions of just choreography.
Yeah.
But
you wanted to make look natural too, Like
yes, exactly. So it doesn't look like choreo. Because I hate that. I hate when a fight looks like choreography.
Like a dance or something.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Or you have you're fighting five guys, but there's five guys, but you're fighting one and then one.
Yeah.
And then I hate that.
Yeah, like they all take their time and attack you at one time at a time. Yeah.
They just shuffle off screen and come back on when it's their time.
Yeah.
I think one time I talked to Frank Grillo almost exactly to that, and he kind of laughed because he's like, "That's not a real fight. A real fight is like a person. If you're going off against five people, all five of those people are going to come after you at the same time."
100%.
They're not Tusken Raiders. I don't hide their numbers one by one.
Yeah.
No. But even if they don't go off screen, let's say the camera's on them and the guys are in the background getting in or moving forward, they got to be doing something like towards you. So that now forces the person that they're fighting to do things when dealing with multiple case scenarios. And you have to if I'm going to fight four guys, I'm going to look at the area where I can have my backup or take them to a doorway or something like that, where only one can come at me at a time. So you have to be creative with doing those things, because otherwise they're all going to be on top of you. And really, realistically, how are you going to deal with four guys like that?
I think probably one of the best examples I could probably come up with is the John Wick series, and I think some of that stuff is very, and I think it comes from because Chad Sawinski he's a stunt performer. At heart he is a stunt performer, and I think some of the movies that are directed by stunt performers benefit from having that, because they know this is gonna look good,
Yeah.
But right, moving on. William asks, what was the most complex thing you have, or stunt that you have done?
That I have coordinated or performed?
And let's say performed.
Me performed. Let me think about that one second. Complicated or dangerous?
Well, he says complex, but I suppose let's go dangerous. Let's go a bit crazy.
I don't know. There's a few, on X-Men 2, I hurt really badly. I was just a dope in a rope, a ratchet with a car that explodes. But in order to simulate the explosion, they put two explosions beside me. They go off simultaneously, one at a time. But and I'm attached to a wire which are circled around me, and it pulls me so I can spin in the air. Now, when the car in the front explodes, when the car in front of me explodes, it goes up in the air. It's on a gyro. So when it'll fly up in the air about 6 to 8 feet, and it'll spin.
Yeah.
So in order for me not to get crushed, this wire takes me out, and it's a metal wire. But what happened was they kept fibbing and fubbing over here that when the explosion went off, the wire never pulled me. It took another second and a half to pull me. And so when I finally got pulled out of there, so I had to stay in it. So the first explosion went, and I couldn't move because the wires around my body, and if I gave it slack when it finally did pull, it probably would have broke all my ribs. So I had to stay in there in the fight, and as I'm in the explosion, the first one, I could feel my skin burning off my arms and my face, but I couldn't move.
Oof.
And then the second explosion went, and then I got worse, and then the wire pulled me, and then I went going. But I had second, third degree burns on my arms and my face.
Wow.
Christ, that's
I can
that's
tell you that I'd be crying the whole time.
Yeah, it was, and like nothing hurts worse than a burn. I mean, the air hurts.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything. You can't even sleep properly. You have to make sure it's wrapped properly. It doesn't get infected because it's, those are the worst. That's the worst case to get infected. And you can't just move. Your arms and your face are on fire, and you just can't move. Like everything just hurts. Air hurts it. It doesn't matter. Cold air, hot air, everything just hurts it.
I burned my finger once, and I started crying. So I can imagine that. So,
I was saying I touched a hot kettle once, and that really hurt, and I haven't done it since. But that's nothing.
Traumatic, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
But how do you move on from something like that, though?
There's a progression. A lot of people have a progression of careers, and some performers will stay in stunt performing because they love it.
Yeah.
And depending on whether they get into master rigging or they get into stunt coordinating or fight choreographers, or they move up into second directing. That's the general path.
Yeah.
And depending on where you are, maybe you'll get into producing, maybe writing, depending on, for me, I get dropped in my head for a living. So writing was probably gonna be a little harder for me. But so I took the path of stunt coordinating and fight choreographer because that's what I do anyways. And then when I went to second directing, because of the craft. You can be a stunt coordinator, but you just don't have the mind for not that it's a bad thing. It's just you just don't think that way to be a second director, or think of shots like that, or think about emotion. But you're good setting everything else up. So I went through second directing, and I got a knack for directing, and so now I'm directing main unit.
Oh, nice. So how did the production on X-Men 2 at that point go?
Sorry?
The production when X-Men that happened on X-Men 2. Was it a case of they waited for you to come back, or did they just find someone else and then move on with everything?
Well, no. I mean, I basically just wrapped my arms up and took a lot of painkillers, and I just came back to work for 2 more days.
Wow.
But generally, they'd find someone to replace you. Yeah, generally.
Yet there's not an award for you guys. Come on.
Yeah. That is, it gets crazier every time it goes.
Well, it's funny because one day a friend of mine, he's a veteran stunt coordinator and a second director, and he was always known for fighting the fight for the stunt performers. And yeah, I mean, stunt performers get paid really well. But the producer one day came down to him and says, "Hey, Mike, why are you doing this? Why are you paying this much? You guys make too much money." And Mike was just like, "Well, let's think about it. How many times do you get a concussion sitting at your desk? Or how many times do you break a leg? Or how many times do you break your arm? Or how many, and the producer was just like, huh, note taken." And he walked away. And I mean, you got to think about those things too, right?
Yeah. So that's...
Our careers are, I mean, some performer careers can be short-lived or can go a little bit longer, but I can guarantee you'll never go longer than any other careers that are out there as a writer or as a director or as, what I mean?
Yeah.
We take a beating.
Because the bodies
They're not being burned, that's for sure.
Burn or hit by cars, hit by horses, Last Samurai, I got hit by a horse. It sent me like 40 feet. Full charge. I mean,
there's even actors hitting you, not on purpose, but just because they're not timed right.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and
I had an actor hit one of my friends in the eye. He just grazed his eye, grazed his eye, and his eye burst like a grape on the inside. And he was a professional kickboxer, world champion, and now he doesn't have 10% periphery vision on his one eye on his side because because of that. So these things happen. It was a mistake. But and sometimes you get actors who don't care, who just go at it and beat the crap out of you and hurt people on purpose.
Those actors aren't very nice.
No.
No, that's. I'm the type of person I can't imagine doing something like that. Like you're on the set, you're trying to make something, and then you just go out your way. Like, come on, that's psychotic.
And on top of that, like, you know, it just takes one mistake, and then you're done. Your career's over. You know, and then, you know, it's
So I can't think what it was. Wasn't there like
underappreciated.
someone a couple of years ago that died from doing a stunt that went wrong?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that it happened.
Oh, there was a guy named I forget his last name, John. He was on Fear the Walking Dead.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's what it is.
And he fell over.
I mean,
it was only 30 feet, fall into some boxes, but I think he got hung up on something. And the boxes generally, because and this is the reason why you do this, you always put mats all against the wall where you're going down or whatever it is, because you could really go underneath it. And that's what happened. And then I think he broke his neck and, you know, other things. And he was a really talented, nice man, a stunt performer. And it was just an unfortunate incident, but it's just, you know, sometimes you do need the experience of people to understand why you push it in or why, you know what I mean? You just, these things just happen, and who knows whatever happened that day, and who knows what was going on. It's hard to point the finger at people, especially if you weren't there. But, you know, we generally do like to take care of our brothers and sisters who are in the business, because it's about safety.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the Heidi moneymakers of the stunt world, like very few and far between, because of, you know, like it's like one of those professions is like kind of like, I mean, it could be short, it could be long. It just depends on where you pivot and go into, you know.
Yeah.
Heidi moneymaker is one of the toughest.
Oh, yeah.
She's tougher than most guys I know.
Yeah.
But she has sustained some major stuff because she's always trying to be like absolutely excellent at what she does. So and she's really well known, and she's like, you know, most stunt women have tried to reach that level of her excellentness, and you know, and she's a nice person too.
Yeah, super nice. Yeah. It was talented too.
Yeah.
Right. The last question from the Facebook group, or the Facebook group members, is from Benny, and he wants to know. He's got, it's kind of a two-part, but you could probably put it into one really. He says, since you with your start early on, like how has the stunt work changed in the business from then to now? I mean, he also says, has CG helped or hindered the stunt industry?
CG, I think, helped it to a degree, but, you know, obviously they're going to try and make CG replace stunt performers at some point.
Yeah.
But they can't make, you know, the best they've done so far is blend the two. Like Zack Snyder's first rendition of when he started using this new way of technology of blending the two was on 300.
300,
yeah.
I mean, visually, wow, it's fantastic. And by blending the two, you're able to enhance the performances of what's going on. So there's been some shows where I know where we have to do a flip up in the air and on a wire, and it goes flying, and then we don't have to make him hit the ground to save the performer. So we'll just fly him in the air, take the actual hit, and go, and just hold him in the air. And then CG would take over the last part, so we don't have to kill the performer, because sometimes what you see on TV is just not realistic. There's no way someone's going to survive that. But it's movies, it's film. You have to make it look like it's going to happen. So that's helped us, and it helps us performance-wise. So if you have like, let's say, a trick that happens in the air or whatever it is, and the performer has got to do it a couple times, and he makes a mistake with his body position, well, CG can help that if we really need to. It costs a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But
so
it can be done,
silly expensive.
right? especially with a good CG company.
Good.
So, and we work hand in hand together. Like on Halo, with Tom Turnbull, who was the visual effects supervisor in Halo, we really work hand in hand together. How we can make each other's lives easier to make it work and look good. Or when I worked with him on Wednesday, Tom Turnbull was also the visual effects coordinator on Wednesday. To make these things happen with like the creature fight that's happening.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about the Halo because obviously, you have this character who's armored up and he's supposed to be like 8 foot tall or whatever. You can't really replicate that and do a bunch of stunts.
Well,
You've got to really.
That was the thing though, because the show was so new, and so I got on. Okay, so the coordinator on the show got fired.
Yeah.
And I got hired in to kind of help fix what was the problems because the stuff that was being shot, which they weren't very happy with. So I only did episode 1, and I did episode 5, and then 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And we tried to fix 9, but it was just too far gone at that point. But I mean, they made these suits, and they had to make them look like they're 8 feet tall. So all our actors were like 6'4", 6'5" and up. Anyways. The girls weren't. One was 6'3", one was 6'1", but they were tall. And then they give them these shoes, which are like ninja platforms. So now they're 7 feet because these shoes are platforms and they're heavy. But the armor was 3 layers, and 3 layers, and they try to make it look exactly like the armor suit. So the cuts isn't always nice. Is help you move. Like someone couldn't straighten their arms out to shoot because the way the armor is set, you can't.
Yeah.
But the armor is also 75 kgs. So,
Heavy.
So flying these guys on wire. Let's say my Master Chief double. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's like 250 pounds. Then you add 75 kgs. Now you're like 300 something pounds. Try flying a 350 guy on a wire. That suit doesn't move very well. He's got to make it look like it's working that well. So CG would come in there and help us with that because it was just too hard until I know season 2 came on. So I think they modified the suits a bit. So I hope it's better. I'm not sure. I wasn't on the season, so.
I didn't even know they got a second season of Halo. Actually.
Yeah. It just finished shooting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do it.
I enjoyed the first one for what it was. I was always not a massive Halo fan growing up, but I always really liked Halo.
I love Pablo Schreiber. So like it was like he's a built guy, man. And like
he's a big dude, and he's done a lot of training with guns and all that jazz too.
Yeah.
He's physical, so 13 hours of Benghazi. I mean, that was always kind of cool. But he, season 2, I'm not sure how it went, but if you watch, if you look really closely, you can kind of tell where we kind of had to use CG in certain areas to help us make certain things happen.
Like you want to do that so you're not like killing the stunt performer in the process,
Well, yeah.
So
exactly.
That's why I like CG always complement like when productions use CG to complement performing. That's always the best part of that's CG. In my opinion.
Yes.
Like when you put it all in CG, I think that's the worst because it's just unnatural. Like you don't get those movements. That you would with an actual person.
That's why CG can make robots look really good, metallic bits really good, like that, spaceships, but people, without looking like they're not real people, they can't.
Yeah, you get that uncanny valley, didn't you?
And I hope to God that the industry keeps it that way, where it's like it's kind of a marriage, between stunt performer and CG, where it's not like, because it's we've all seen the all CG effects and they just don't hold up, and then
so you can get certain things like Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame, like obviously very much an exception, right? But it's not practical with the budget that went into that character.
But
it can do certain things, but a lot of the time you want the Star Wars effect, right? You want that mix of practical and
Yeah,
CGI for
it's nice to have a guy in a suit doing the physical moves. So, and then just CGI the little
Enhance it, yeah.
the little touches, just that's what I always enjoy about CG is like where it's just so subtle. It
Yeah.
helps, but it's not like like it when it becomes a hindrance is like when it's just like you can tell. And like if you watch a Spider-Man movie, like obviously you can't swing Tom Holland across New York City, but like you can still tell that it's not natural,
Yeah.
in a natural.
Yeah.
So like,
No, you can have like the bounce and squish as much as you want in animation, but you're never really gonna replicate.
Yeah, but and if you watch Avatar, you know, they had everybody do everything practically, really.
Yeah.
And then they enhanced them with the CG for
Yeah.
certain things. So I mean, they're really fighting underwater. They're really doing these things. They're really on a tilting set that's tilted underwater and back and forth. I mean, they're really doing that stuff, and they added to it. So I mean, that's why it's done so well.
Yeah. And we've all know what the worst CGI effect is, and that's Superman's removal of the mustache, and Justice League. That's here nor there.
Yeah, technology's come a long way. Removing facial hair, not quite doing it now.
Yeah, we're still a little
that,
off on the. We can make a guy fly in space, but we cannot take a mustache off a guy without looking like Jello.
Probably one of the most infamous shots you'll ever get in a movie now is that one. That one scene.
I skip over that part if I watch it because I just can't. I can't hold the laughter in a little bit.
I can't. It's too iconic to skip. You just have to appreciate how bad it looks.
That's true.
But right, my final question is, so we'll end it here. If you could go back and change any one thing from anything you've worked on, would you and why? Like whether it's actual performance or choreography or directing.
Of things that I have control over, like things that I've done, or things that I was on.
Things that you've done, yeah, because obviously you can't change what other people have done. Yeah.
Oh man!
Like whether it's a case of you'll go back and just use your experience, like your career's worth of experience, to go back and do one thing different early on, or.
I was wondering, are we referring to Iron Fist?
No, not necessarily. No, nothing I've actually asked is referring to specifically.
I was just wondering because there hasn't been any Iron Fist questions at all, so I'm like, huh.
Yeah. I didn't want to come here and be like so Finn Jones. Really, like I really didn't.
It's not to
avoid that, like,
because we all know what
stereotype myself and.
I mean, no. If you want to talk about that a little bit, I'll talk about it a little bit.
I mean, we can absolutely talk about it a little bit.
If you want to. Because I'll join the conversation too.
Something I would change. Let me see. I would change.
That's if you would change anything. Obviously, you can just say that you wouldn't.
But... I had some opportunity. Like before, I used to be scared of directing because dealing with actors was always hard. Like I mean, it's like on Marco Polo. I'm sitting there talking to Michelle Yeoh about how to fight. I'm like, that's like the most nerve-wracking thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm telling Michelle Yeoh, and I'm like, are you kidding me? It's Michelle Yeoh.
And she's the nicest person to you the whole entire time, too.
Right? Or like on Warrior season 3, I just finished directing an episode, and Shannon Lee was one of the actresses on my episode. I'm like, I'm directing Shannon Lee. I'm like, it was just, it was kind of thing. But if I could change anything, I had some opportunities to direct earlier, and I didn't. Because I was too scared of the idea. Yeah, I would definitely take those opportunities more now because that's where I'm headed towards now. I have a couple of movies that are on the back burner right now, which are we've cast some people already, and Andrew Koji is one of them, and and I'm gonna be directing. They're my movies, so I would have.
Awesome.
That's
such a great strategic move. Yeah.
So you want to talk about the elephant in the room? Okay, talk about the elephant in the room.
Let's talk about Iron Fist.
The whiny little dainty English guy. Yes.
Am I going to have to... Are you making me edit this?
If you want me to, I can talk more of the trash.
No, I don't mind. I mean,
I'll take the bullets.
I'm not gonna go trash people, but I'm just saying speak the truth. That's all it is. It's I'm not telling
I say, 'cause
lies.
you've done an interview recently, right, talking about the show and your experience on it.
Oh my God! I mean, I basically they asked me a question about it. I gave a little bit of detail. That's it, and everybody took it and blew it all up. I was like, oh my God.
That's kind of what I didn't want to be the guy that had that happen again. I didn't want.
You know what? It's already happened, so it doesn't matter. And he's come out and he said all these things were all not true. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, fight fire with fire. I mean, I don't plan on ever working with him ever again anyway, so it doesn't matter. And if I ever was offered a job to work with him, I'd probably just say no. Because
that's fair.
I don't life's too short. Life's just too short. I just want to work with people that are cool. I want to work with people that I want to work with, and I just make things that are good and creative and fun.
You want to work with people that are not lazy?
That too?
He said it.
Wink, wink. I'll throw the first stone on that one.
Okay.
So you also, like, even if you don't, like, if you don't speak to him between now and then, if you ever did work together, like, just saying no, like, you wouldn't want to work with someone and make that whole environment like not nice to work in, right? You wouldn't want to. Exactly, yeah. You wouldn't make it a toxic environment, so it's probably better off for everyone.
You don't want to sour your experience and like anything going forward with working with people you don't want to work with or don't respect.
Well,
so
it can backfire, right? It can always look a bit worse on you than it does him if you go in there and all that sort of stuff. Right?
Well, yeah, because he's the talent.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like, I mean, how do you deal with something like that? Because not only that, though, but as a martial artist myself and someone who does action, I mean, that was a pretty big hit on me because I was like, what happened, Brett? You know, I'm like, oh, there's just so much. But it's not only that, though. You have to take into account some of the directors who did not want to listen to anything because they know to do it. But they don't know to do it. But they say they know to do it, but they don't. So, and, you know, my position is that I'm just the stunt coordinator and, you know, the second director. So I'm not the guy on top. So I can't even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever work comes out, they can look at you and go, "What up?" I mean, who wants to, like when I took Warrior, I'm like, okay, I cannot ever take this job and make Brucey's legacy bad because that would sink my career for sure. But luckily, you know, I had actors that were fantastic and I had directors who were good and they were humble to understand that their action is not their forte, but they trusted their team. You know, and I can show them, and they loved it, and they give their stamp of approval on certain things. They change, which is great. That's good. And at the end of the day, the product's good, and they're happy. Audience is happy. Producer's happy. I'm happy, and it's a great working experience. When you have an actor who doesn't want to do anything, first of all, you take the job as Iron Fist. What does that say to you?
Yeah, there's a few expectations set on that specific role.
Well, production hires him, okay, and they say, okay, you're Iron Fist. Okay, number one, it's their also responsibility to understand if he can fill this role, not just because he's part of Game of Thrones or whatever it is, but you have to be able to do this role.
Yeah.
Number two, what background does he have? Okay, it doesn't matter if he doesn't have a background as long as he has the work ethic to train, to want to do it.
Yeah.
Number three, give him the prep time. Now, you know, a month before I came out to New York, he had a month to train.
Yep.
You know, but he only had like 1 day a week or maybe 2 days a week or whatever it is on his own for like an hour, 2 hours, maybe. When he came to New York, he maybe came to 2 training sessions and didn't want to. So I got him a personal trainer, Marvel personal trainer, which then he didn't want to show up half the time. So I couldn't, nothing I can do. And then you had, you know, you had certain producers that were just like, not helping the situation. And then you had, you know, what we're talking about. And then you have like directors who are like, no, I can do this. You have to do this. And it's like, okay, let's see it happen. And sure enough, you know, it comes on film and, oh yeah, why is this fight? This fight is, you know, it's 60 seconds long and there are, you know, 57 cuts. You know, like,
oh, I forgot about the cuts. Yeah. Wow.
Like, well, the thing about that that production was like, I mean, if you look at every actor outside that show or even inside that show that really put in the time, they didn't have the background, but they looked really fucking good, you know. And then you got one guy that's his main power is, you know, to fight, and he looks terrible. And it's like you can't, as a stunt, you know, coordinator, you can't make these people do what they're supposed to do. You kind of have to let him do it, you know, and trust that they were actually going to put in the work, you know. And unfortunately, he just didn't put the work in. He'd rather, you know, walk around Williamsburg, you know, DJing in some hipster club, you know, or something like that, or whatever it was that he was doing, other than what his job was supposed to be.
But he took pride in saying that he was the Iron Fist, and and
We
then
said it a lot in that show, in fairness.
well, yeah, and then when it happened, and then when it happened, you know, it finally came out. He's wondering why are the billboards all along in Los Angeles? Why are they Colleen Wing's big billboards are bigger than the Iron Fist
She
itself?
actually did the work.
Well,
she was
she
more of
looks
an Iron Fist than
fantastic.
he was, you know.
She looks fantastic.
She was great.
I mean, it all comes down to the amount of work you want to put into it. You're not just given a role because you're on something, and you're still expected to perform. And this is your profession. Your profession as a professional is to do this. That's what you do. I can't go into a show. I can't be hard in a show and say, okay, Brett, I need you to put this fight. I need you to do this, but I never have a day of martial arts in my life. Like,
or, I mean, that you could transfer it to anything. You know, you hire a person to do a tap dance in a musical. I don't know how to do it, but you can learn how to do.
You gotta go. You know, you're
that's your job.
Have to play Sammy Davis Jr. And it's on a show when he's tap dancing and singing. You're not ever gonna go take a lesson in tap dancing?
Yeah, like that's their job. The job is you're getting hired to do a job, and I mean, everybody else around you gives you all the tools you need necessarily to do the job. You just don't choose to do it. You know, that's on him. You know, not.
Can you imagine?
Especially when like the show's taking a decision to not give a character part of this costume, right? Where you could possibly hide the fact that it's a stunt double.
Yeah.
Well, that was that's all he was really hoping for, a stunt double with a mask. So he didn't have to do any of that stuff. That's what he kept pushing for, and that's what he kept doing. And they're like, no, you're not getting a mask, and they wouldn't give it to him. So he's like, you know, I'm having one day I had a big conversation with him. I said, you know, he's like, you know, they're really pushing me too much. You know, I'm working 5 days a week. I'm not getting any time off. I said, do you understand? I said to him, do you know, me and my team are working 6.5 days a week at 18, 21-hour days to make this happen so you would look good. I said, do you understand that? Like you have to understand that.
Like whatever time he's putting in, you're putting in triple the time.
Yeah.
In your crew, you know, and like you cannot put, you know, he's not a marionette. You can't make him do the moves. He has to actually physically do some work to get to that point. You know, you can only do so much, and you and the crew can only do so much. He needs to do the rest, and that was his problem.
Well, bless Clayton Barber, because when he did season 2, you know, he knew what he had to deal with, and he had to cut his losses by, okay, we're not going to make it all like stylized kung fu because he's not going to do it. So Clay made a decision just to make the action look, you know, good. He basically changed the you know, the movement base of it so it can actually somewhat salvage the show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he also left his character in the spot where he's essentially Orson Randall, right? And he has the guns. So it's like you can completely pivot him away from having to fight to doing a bit more. Like,
well, there was an Iron Fist who used guns. There was an Iron Fist.
Yeah.
There's a son who did use guns, but I mean, that's not the Iron Fist who we're playing.
No. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want that guy playing with any type of prop guns. You know, anything, you know? You think he's lazy?
No, but at least there was a creative way to try and pivot him away from, like, obviously this. You know, you've had 2 seasons of not playing with something he's obviously fighting the show against, right? But so just try and get him over here. But unfortunately, you know, you never got a 3rd season on that, so that's just always going to hang there.
It's, you know, like I always say that it's kind of a dance. You know, like everybody, like he, everybody around him made him look better than he was.
100%, yeah.
And like unfortunately, again, they couldn't carry dead weight, so. I mean, it must have been frustrating for people on Defenders, where like you got guys like Charlie Cox doing fucking military presses between, while his stunt double's doing the work, and like you get Finn crossing the leg on the chair, doing nothing. But
Yeah, Mike Coulter, all these great actors
yeah.
are in there.
I mean, and Jessica, to her credit, she first one to get there, last one to leave. As an actor, for you guys, that must be a dream come true to have someone like basically get congregated into the tribe, and like, feel like you actually accomplished something,
Well, yeah.
Who actually wants to, embody the character, part of the career that they've chosen, wanting to be different people in all aspects.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, and the thing is, I probably wouldn't have even came out and spoken about this stuff, but I mean, it's like one of those things where he's online saying, "Oh, the stunt team didn't train him properly." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." So now I gotta say,
I mean,
you forced my hand on this now, so now, in spite of all the crap, now I have to come forward. Okay.
Of course, yeah. Like he's trying to pivot responsibility for his lack of work ethic on other people, and like, yeah, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why no one's looking at him. You don't see him very much in doing anything.
I mean, has
he
done anything since? I can't.
I mean, he did. I think he did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre like prequel, but I mean, I even talked to people that were associated with that film, and they said that he was not a pleasure to work with, and so it's not just isolated to one thing. It must be just his personality, where he just, and like I don't know, I hope for the best, good. I see that he does DJing on Instagram. I hope he pivots into something like that, to where he's actually good.
He's apparently done a few things since Iron Fist.
Well, there's the one thing where he was cast as a prodigal son or something, and then after I think it was 4 days of shooting, then they shut production down. They recast.
They're like, this is not working. This guy's not working. Let's bring in a real actor. And
like I don't know what happened there. All I know is that it just doesn't look good. I mean, that's all.
I'm sure that was very much the case, where they hired him, they put him on tape, and they're like, nope. What's the next choice? Who's their?
But there are also people out there who are not a pleasure to work with, but they're freaking good at their craft.
Yeah.
They've done their homework. They've done their job because this is their job. They've been there. They've done this. Yeah, okay, fine. We're not going to be friends. Or not. Yeah, it's going to be like, hi, goodbye. You got to do this. Okay, great. Done. But when they perform, it's good.
Yeah.
At the
end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Yeah. But, I mean...
you're not in here to make friends. You're in here to do the job. And if the guy is like kind of a dick, that's fine. Not everybody's a nice guy, but if they can focus and do their job, it makes your job look easy, like it makes your job look, like
more pleasurable.
More pleasurable.
Like,
even if he's not pleasurable to be around, at least that the
it's going to be good quality.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's like on Warrior, all the cast is fantastic. And they're also, even Marco Polo, everyone's still like, friends. And even like on Kung Fu, like that cast that cast was so awesome. Kung Fu just got canceled after season 3. I think it's being shopped around right now for another another company. But the cast is so tight knit and pleasurable. And it's their dream to work with. Warrior is a dream to work with. Like these guys, Joe Taslim, Dean Jagger, Koji, you got Kieran View, like Toon Lee, like they're all.
It doesn't feel like you're working, right? When you work with these crews, you feel like you're just having fun and you're actually doing something. I can believe it.
100%.
I think, at least from like an outside perspective, right? Iron Fist, like just the things you hear about it, it seemed to the whole Jeff Loeb stuff with Asians and Finn Jones. It is just always on Netflix, being Netflix and doing what they do best. Like, it just seemed like it was
doomed from the start.
a little bit, yeah. Like, something
doomed.
was always going to go wrong with that show, unfortunately. But
I mean, I'll say it out straight. It was kind of doomed from the start. From minute one. You talk about Netflix cutting the budget to a show that needs the budget.
Yeah.
Then you got producers casting people that don't necessarily fit the bill. Don't want to do the. It was just like
you get Scott Buck as a showrunner. Like,
oh yeah, and nothing. I don't think as good as season 2 kind of turned out. It still was. The writing was on the wall in that show. That all the other shows were kind of like a surprise when it got canceled, but that one was not a surprise. That was more like,
It was the first one canceled, wasn't it? Iron Fist.
So yeah.
I was surprised that Iron Fist got picked up in season 2, and I think that it was only because Defenders came out and.
Well, I know Cheo really like the show. The second season, the showrunner for Luke Cage really helped adjust the trajectory of what he was doing. Like if you watch that episode with the Heroes for Hire, combination, like you could tell that the ship was kind of turning in the right direction.
Yeah,
but
you could feel there was an effort behind the scenes to really.
But at that point, it was kind of just no point. Like the writing was on the wall. Second season came out. Even reviews were saying, "Hey, it was a good." It was going in the right direction, but just was not. It wasn't in the timely manner that it needed. But and then I don't know. It was just like one of those things that I personally wasn't surprised when they canceled it. I was surprised with everything else. But that was just not like okay. I've kind of figured that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think with the avenue, like the dawn of like the streamers, because that was around that sort of time, wasn't it, when they cancelled everything? Like, it wasn't much of a shock, because why would Disney and Marvel want a Daredevil on Netflix and not their own one, sort of thing? Like,
yeah. I don't know. It all worked out in the end.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to wade through crap, and come out smelling your roses. But
yeah, but yes.
I know.
So I'm really hoping Henwick comes back. Like, really hoping.
She's a friend of mine, so we talk still all the time, and she would consider it. It's just, it all depends on the role, and like if she's playing to like someone like then probably not.
It would not do her justice if that was the case. I think. No. I mean, I've always said.
Really.
Yeah, I've always said, it needed, if you're gonna take these other shows as kind of a soft reboot and kind of continue stuff from the other shows, then you need to do it. If you're gonna do an Iron Fist show or movie, that ending of season 2 was a perfect pickup point for me. That's I mean, I'm sure the trolls that hate everything, female and stuff like that would have a field day with that. But it's like, at the end of the day, it was exact. Like she like, I think she would have been more of an Iron Fist than Finn Jones could ever have been. Like sleeping or awake, but
yeah. That's that might be the perfect place to end this, to be honest. On that note, he did seem like she's the better Iron Fist. The show ends on that note. We'll end on that note. So, Brett, thanks for joining. It's been fun.
Thanks, man.
Fun. Always welcome back. If you'd like to come back, we can always
just give me a shout anytime you need me to.
Right.
If you want to do an expose on Warrior, if you want to put an expose on Warrior.
I mean, yeah, I could. I'd have to. I've watched the show first, but yeah, we can.
You haven't seen? Oh my God, Nick!
I've been so bad at TV recently.
terrible.
He's
I'm
playing.
bad.
I'm
He's playing the
telling you.
PS5s.
He has been very much overtaken with Star Wars right now. It's a rare occurrence, but he's all in on the
Hey,
laser
Brent,
swords at the minute.
would you ever? Just one last thing. Like, if you had the opportunity to work on a Star Wars show, would you do that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Awesome. I will bring that up in the next time I talk to somebody.
I think you should. Yeah.
Oh no, I totally. The
Yeah.
thing is that look, what happened on Halo? Okay, so episode 1. If you liked Halo, episode 1 was my work, and episode
Yeah.
5,
Oh, nice.
right? Because what happened was the coordinator got fired, and so they came back. Now he had 14 months to prepare all the action, but they weren't happy with it, so they
Yeah.
shot everything that was dialogue. So basically, when you shoot a series like that, you generally have you have like a month to prep, and you shoot for a week or so, and then you have like another couple of weeks to prep the next episode for the action
Yeah.
going on kind of thing. But this wasn't like that. This was basically action, because they already shot all the other stuff already.
Yeah. You
So-
came in to.
Yeah. So we're gun to the gun. But the thing is that my repertoire isn't just martial arts fights. This happens to be one of my specialties, but it's everything in general. It's a broad stroke of things. So if you go from Halo to like Wednesday to Resident Evil to whatever, that's where I can fit in.
Yeah. All right.
But
Well,
if I ever had an opportunity to do something with Star Wars, come on, who wouldn't want to? I mean, that's
I was gonna say like it's Star Wars. Like, come on now. Like,
kind of like working on that. I mean, it's kind of a dream, but it's like a bucket list type situation where like if it's the right project at the right time, it'd be like, yes, do it.
totally. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, especially if I can stylize something. I mean, that's even better.
Yeah. I mean, everything I've heard, like they're gonna take a different approach with the shows in the series. So, like they're gonna give room to breathe, for creators to do what they need to do.
So I know, Mitch, you haven't seen Warrior yet. Shame on you. But put it this way. I think Sean, have you seen Warrior yet?
Yes, I have. I have watched at least half the season so far. Yes.
Just season 1. Oh, season 2 is so much better. But anyways.
I'm getting there. I get 2 kids that are basically.
Yeah, I know. It's not exactly a kid-friendly show.
And then, but it's awesome, man. It's.
No, it gets better, Sean. It gets so much better season 2. But anyways, if you watch it, Mitch, there's all these different people, and they all come from different backgrounds and different fighting styles.
Yeah.
But if you have if they're fighting behind like a blank screen, like a shade, so they're just like silhouettes fighting, you can tell individually who they are based on how they move, which is
Nice.
which is what I like, because I'm giving personality and character traits to each person as opposed to everyone just fighting the same.
Yeah. I say you can't, especially in like a show like that, you can't have everyone just all look the same and then do like a shadow silhouette fight and then not have.
Yeah, I mean, you
people
have
recognized.
it was like Iron Fist, which I tried doing individual style fights. Like Dallas was different. Same with Demetrius.
Yeah.
Same with, but you can't. So now Iron Fist, he moves and fights like everyone else.
Yeah.
Like a sloth.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you know about Warriors? Do you know where it's showing in the UK? Like, is it on a streaming or is it on
Sky?
Oh, it's on Sky. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on Sky. It's HBO, so it's a Sky.
Oh, so yeah, it'll be Sky Atlantic. Yeah, I will make that a point.
Make that a point and get back to me.
So once I've edited this, I will go on Sky Atlantic and I will
Because
find it.
season 3 comes out on June 29th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we're hoping we get season 4.
That
And
might just
I'm
fill the Succession-shaped hole I'm about to have because I'm watching the last season of that this week. So
Yeah, I know. I just watched the last episode today.
oh, nice.
I'm I get kind of depressed watching that show, so like I have to take
totally.
breaks.
I totally.
But Culkin's so good in that show, though.
He's probably one of the best parts of it. I mean, Brian Cox too, but like obviously.
Oh, I mean, everyone's fantastic in that show,
Yeah.
but like, give Culkin an Emmy. Can I come on now?
It's a great show.
But right, yeah. So I'm gonna go check out Warriors. Like I think everyone else, if you're not listening to this, or if you have been listening to this and you're not watching Warriors, and you don't want to get shamed like I've been publicly shamed,
Shame on you.
go watch Warriors.
Warrior, no S, Warrior.
Oh, Warrior. Sorry, my apologies. So yeah, again, thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Once I've watched Warrior, I will absolutely get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
And yeah, so thanks for joining everyone, and we'll catch you next time. So bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.